once you start looking like through that lens of like anything can be like a story beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was like a really important thing that we learned. That's like a lesson that we'll have forever, you know?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jaco.
And I'm Mark.
And welcome back to Department Spotlight. It's the show where we talk to our friends and colleagues about their experiences in the film industry. Today, our only friends and colleagues are ourselves. So, yeah.
Wow. And since it's the end of the year and it's only us, we thought that it might be cool to do a sort of year in review of what we learned on YouTube and making films and touching a bit on freelancing.
So, without any further ado, let's get into it. How has it changed our content? Because obviously, when the pandemic hit and we couldn't make more movies, we had to think about, okay, what else are we gonna put online, right?
I think our subsequent writing has also become more contained just naturally. I think it was like a good process to go through. Because it forces you to look more at like the micro instead of the macro, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which was like a really important thing to go through, you know what I mean? Like you can make so much out of just
what you
what's
have.
in the back garden or
Yeah. We thought about this like a lot last year as well when we wrote the original 6 script, which is keep it small. It's a short film. It's not a feature film that you're just doing a shorter version of. So we thought a lot about that last year, but then I think by making Home and My Scott, we were like thinking even smaller, if that makes sense. Like we could create these like bigger stories out of just one location or a bunch of locations, but it's only narrated. You know, it's things that you don't need, a crew of 20 people to shoot necessarily. I mean, those exist and those are great as well. And we're probably going to make some of those when we get funding. But a short film, if you don't have anything, can be just what you have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. But I definitely think that stuff that we've learned from doing those kinds of films will also just naturally like be there as we develop others.
Yeah.
As in, from the script point of view, it will be like we'll just have more experience of like we can actually get more out of just this one location or just this one scene, or you know what I mean, instead of going sort of bigger unnecessarily, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think when I don't want to say inexperienced, maybe when you're just starting, or if you're starting on big things, you don't really think about the minutia of things. You're just like, oh, this scene can happen and then that scene can happen. And yes, there's conflict because of where they are, it's, but then when you restricted, I feel like it's when a lot of nuanced ideas come naturally.
Yeah. It reminded me of when we were doing research. Was last year? Yeah. Last year for Alakrapis. We went to go interview
the clowns.
I can't remember who exactly said it, but we were talking about like clowning and how they were saying that we're asking about like how did they develop their act, and then they were speaking about clowning, and I suppose you'll have learnt about it if you went to if you studied theatre as well. That idea that sort of anything can become like a prop or like a part of the story. You know what I mean? And the way that sort of clowning is like a mindset or like a lens through which you view things. And I think that's something we learned as well, is that once you start looking like through that lens of like anything can be like a story beat. I think that was like a really important thing that we learned. That's like a lesson that we'll have forever,
Yeah. It's cool. And obviously everything that we're saying isn't like final. We're still learning. Like I think
Yeah, for sure.
it's cool that like we've learned these things, but there's more things that we're gonna learn. It's fun. I don't know. It feels good to like be doing things, and then from this thing that you did, you're like, oh, okay, I can change it this way, or because I did this thing, now I know in this next thing. I mean, I guess an example of that could be proof of concept coming off the back of Redacted, because I think obviously in proof of concept, if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out on the YouTube channel. But it's a mockumentary about people making a horror film, and we just made a horror film. So with proof of concept, we were thinking of what could go wrong, what's the conflict of this film. And it was cool because we just had all these things that just naturally came up while we were shooting Redacted.
They were like, they were kind of like absurd as well.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
things that could only happen on a film set.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if we just did proof of concept without doing Redacted first, or if we changed the genre and we hadn't done that genre before, I think it wouldn't have been as effective as I think it is.
Yeah, for sure. Because there's like very specific things, like the blood rig, obviously.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking about that recently, and how it's really cool that proof of concept is like sort of rounding off the year. It feels like not only a reflection of Redacted, but a reflection of the whole year of making.
Yeah.
Like year and a half, I suppose.
Yeah,
of making
since
short films.
Yeah.
Because we
True.
just knew about like I feel like the characters, obviously they're based on like different parts of us and some other people, but kind of not really. But like I feel like the characters, when they're coming up with them, just came very naturally, because it's almost like that thing of like, oh, write about what you know, which I don't think is always true, because I think you can learn a thing and then that becomes what you know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still
I
it's
feel
still
like
what you know
for
now.
This one, yeah, I feel like for this one, it was exactly what we knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was never a point where.
Yeah, and I mean, we even talk about it's a passion project. We can't really pay anybody, or
Yeah. There's a lot of.
Yeah.
There's so many in jokes.
Yeah, exactly.
People arriving late, or people getting a paid gig and like
Leaving,
which is fine.
Yeah, of
But,
course.
like, it's just like a funny thing to put in.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I think specifically from the podcast as well, we learned a lot about the different. It's called Department Spotlight. We interviewed all these departments that we don't necessarily have direct experience with. Because of all the content that we've made this year, not just the films, we could put that into our films.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's it for this extract of the Loop Pictures 2020 Retrospective Year in the View podcast Bonanza. I hope you liked it. If you did, then make sure to click that like button.
And while you're down there, if that subscribe button is still red, click it. I mean, cool things could happen, who knows? And if you have any other questions about anything that we learned this year, or anything else for that matter, leave us a little comment down there in the comment section. We try to respond to all of them. And also remember that you can listen to the full podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else that you listen to your podcasts. Link in the description. So until next time, go out there, stay safe, and make your movie.